I'd like to welcome everyone to the conversation where we talk about everything Cowboys. My favorite team, your favorite team, America's team. Here with your host, Coach Marv.
Cowboy Nation, how are you doing tonight? How are we doing tonight? Man, hey, it's been a tough couple of days for me trying to get a lot of things done, man, and salute, man. Want to see if we can get some people to come in. Got a very interesting topic again today. I've been sitting back and watching the defensive coaches search. Got some interesting points I want to make about it. Got some things that we need to really be aware of when we're watching this. And my four choices of how I say the Cowboys are going to go by through this: the expensive way, the economy way, the cheat way, and do nothing at all. Still, two are in play: the economy way and the expensive way. And we got to be very mindful of which way this is going. And as my title said, are the Cowboys looking for dominance on defense? Or are we just looking for a slight upgrade or just a little upgrade? I'm going to give you my point of view and where the NFL is going, where the history of the Cowboys have always been, and what I think we need to maximize what we have to have the best opportunity to win a championship. So we got a lot of stuff to unpack here today. So let's start off by the coaching search so far. I'm not going into no names of people that they got one guy, Leonard, is where it seems like that in the room or in the Dallas media that the guy from Denver is their golden child. They have gotten some word from someone in the organization that likes this guy. This is a guy that they have heard about. This is a guy that they see that has some up and coming things. This may be a guy that they have talked to Sean Payton about, and they have gotten excited about this guy. And this is not just came on this excitement has not just come up today. This excitement has probably come up in some conversations before that. Shotty may have had some excitement about it, but there's some excitement about the young coach of how he can probably move, from Wisconsin into the pros and how he can probably move into being a coordinator in the NFL. So there's some excitement about it. Now, his resume is okay, but I think the excitement about the guy makes his resume look even more than what it really is. Because there's some other guys that has just an equal resume or maybe a little bit better, and there's just not a excitement about it. There's an interview process. There seems like some excitement, but there's not that excitement about the guy from Denver. And I'm not saying that I don't like the guy from Denver, but I am saying that this. we have to be very careful, Cowboy fans. And I'm gonna explain what I mean by dominance. We got to be very careful, Cowboy fans. And what we have to be very careful is about, as I may have put on Twitter, and maybe I could try to pull up my Twitter post because I like to have context. I don't get too much context when I come out here and I do stuff with y'all, but because I'm not that great of a guy with the technical side of the of putting stuff together. But I did put some on Twitter because my great good friend Boss Cowboy, he posted something, and then I did post something, a reply on Twitter that gave me, that I know some people say, well, Coach, how, what you meant by the reply that you made on Twitter the other day, um, and I'm coming back to y'all because I want y'all to see where what I was talking about. And I'm gonna go here to Twitter and I'm gonna share this screen and it's gonna pop up here in a minute for y'all. I know y'all a little bit behind on me, and I don't want to go too fast, but I'm sharing my screen now, and this is about uh, something that Boss Cowboy Sports posted. Um, and Boss made a very interesting point, man. Boss was not trying to. He was not trying to say in no way that he didn't like um, the guy out of Denver, Jim Leonard, Jim out of Denver. Not no way he say that. It's not that you cannot say that you don't like this guy. He has a good resume and he has some good things about him. But he said in no way possible that he's saying that he doesn't like it, but he don't want that to be pushed on him. Because what it started to seem is that what I just said. It started to say that somebody got a word and they like this guy. And since they like this guy, they can't see nothing else. And they're pushing this guy. And he said he don't want the local media to push you on there, right? What's going on, church? He don't want you to push. He don't want the local media to be pushed on this guy. All right, I can understand that. I can understand where Boss is coming from in that aspect. And then I replied to that. I say, right. If there are truly, if they are, and when I'm talking about they, I'm talking about the Cowboys. If the Cowboys are truly searching for the right guy, and the right defensive staff, because you got to get the right guy, and he's got to bring the right defensive staff. It should be internal decision, not the internal decision by the inside media, not the internal decision by the people in the media in the Dallas Fort Worth area or 105.3 or somebody. Not that. It should be an internal decision by the Joneses, by the Schottenheimer, his rest of his coaching staff, because we're gonna with somebody to work with, and it's got to be the right for them. And it shouldn't be. We shouldn't want nobody pushed on us, and they shouldn't want nobody pushed on them. This hiring position is not a popularity contest. If you're going to trying to hire an assistant coach based off with a popularity contest, you're going to find yourself you cannot let your media and the fan base coach your team. And I understand we feel like we got good intentions, and yes, our voice do matter. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying that you got to be very careful about what decisions you make about your team. So I'm not saying I don't like the guy. I'm not saying I don't like him at all. I'm saying I don't feel like I want to be pushed on him. And I didn't really say all I wanted to say in that post because sometimes by being in this cowboy nation for as long as I've been, I see some very shady things by the internal media of the Cowboys. Sometimes I see where we have a lot of negativity, and sometimes, and I'm gonna say this, sometimes I don't really believe they want us to be successful because if we are successful, when we are on runs, they're always coming up with some type of negative angle to get us going in some type of negative stuff, and it seems like they're making a lot of money off our failures. Everybody likes to see a train wreck. So that's why you got to be very careful. And remember that I just said be careful because that careful part is going into the what I want is what I think we need is a defensive coordinator. So this search is going, and then they picked up some interesting. The offensive defensive backs coach for the Eagles. I think they're casting a wide net. Now, what they haven't done, they haven't interviewed the top dogs. And some of the top dogs cannot get into interviews right now because some of the top dogs are going after what? Head coaching jobs. The Flores, the guy out of Atlanta, Rasheed Morris, the guy out of Minnesota. I mean, out of Atlanta. We can't get you can't talk to him right now. So there's a lot of guys. Yeah. And that's yeah, they'll talk about the Pickens trade before they'll talk about the Parsons trade before they talk about the Pickens. Yeah. So some trades work in some way, and I don't think that it's too early to say that the trade didn't work for Parsons. It seems like it's a wash because the Cowboys got their player for the whole year, and Michael did get hurt. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but hey, so there's a lot of factors that goes on with a trade. But that's beside the fact. But we are interviewing some good candidates. But I'm very cautious about how we interviewing candidates. Remember what I said, and we're gonna get to the point what I said about. We're gonna go back to the revisit when I said we could do this four ways. We could do it the expensive way, the economy way, the cheap way, or do nothing at all when we talk about this defense. Well, the cheap way, I think we out the way. I think, and that do we show we have done something because we did five Matt Eaglesuits. The cheap way, I don't know because we still might promote within. The economy way is we might promote from within, but who are they trying to promote from within? Or they're trying to give another person on the outside an upgrade. Now, a lot of people ain't gonna want to hear this. Again, I will say it again. Do your research. The Cowboy coaching staff has been some of the lowest paid coaches, head coach all the way through assistants in the NFL for the last 10 to 15 years. We have had some of the lowest salaries for coaching staff. The word all around the league is Cowboys don't play coaches. So when you're interviewing, you may be interviewing guys that's going to have an upgrade that ain't looking for to break the bank. Guys that, and I know some people say, well, Eagleflus was not an upgrade. He already was a head coach. But Eagleflus was on the salary because Eagleflus had a lot of money being paid from Chicago because they fired him early. Plus, he had a relationship with the Cowboys. So there might have been a good form, a little discount there, saying you got there and to bring him in. These other people don't have a relationship with the Cowboys. Maybe not that tight a relationship. So when you start interviewing the Flores and the Raheem Morris and all that, they're not coming here for peanuts. And their staff that they're going to want to bring with them is not coming here for peanuts either. Those guys are not there working with anybody. Now you make it get a guy that's upgrade, a Leonard that's coming from maybe that's college he was at, but now he in the pros and he getting his first defensive coordinator job in the pros. He may come in and say, okay, well, I'll go with your defensive line coach and your linebacker coach because I know you don't want to, they're under contract. I ain't got nobody I'm gonna bring here as high dollar. That could happen now. But when you go get Flores, a Raheem Morris, or some of these other guys that are veteran, proven coordinators, they're gonna want there's some of their own people, and not a discount, cheap rate, and they're gonna want to pay. Now, let's take Flores as instance. Flores just left his contract. His contract ended in Minnesota. Now, I'm gonna give you a scenario and see if y'all going with me. Flores' contract ended in Minnesota. Minnesota didn't fire Flores. His contract ended. You don't think Minnesota wanted to sign to extension? You got doggone right they did. But what he said is, if my contract ended, let me look at other opportunities. And if that don't work out, I'll come back here in Minnesota. Right? They didn't fire him in Minnesota. So if he's going to come back to Minnesota, guess what? You're going to have to outbid Minnesota. You can't come in there saying, well, you with the Cowboys, we're going to pay you Cowboy coaches money. No, that ain't going to make it. And paying him, yeah, paying him the money that's going to take to get him to say, I'm going to come here to be a defensive coordinator, second probably assistant head coach, and get my staff, it might be way more money than you paying your offensive coordinator. And let me tell you something. That matters when you put the coaching staff together, that you got one guy that's making way more than the other guy. Because when you start out cheap, guess where you got to stay at? You can't put no Louis Vuitton shoes on with some Levi's. You can't put no diamond necklace on with some cheap earrings. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? You can't hire your last staff at low budget costs, and now you trying to get a Flores in there, and you trying to hire him and put him in there at big time money, because Flores might want $4.5 million. And to get him at 4.5, listen, man, let me show this on the screen. Because that's a great comment. Fangio is reported to be at $4.5 million as a defense coordinator in Philadelphia. I would guarantee you that our head coach ain't getting just a tad bit more than that. So are you going to bring a defensive coordinator in here that's going to be paid probably as much as your head coach? See, nobody want to talk about that when we talk about how they're looking for coaches. See, they're looking, but they're looking for coaches just like they look at salary cap guys. They're looking for a guy that's going to fit the bill, but fit the salary structure that they want to be in. And why is that? Because there is no salary cap on coaches. But why is that? Is because when you start paying cheap, you got to stay there because you can't bring another high dollar guy in here and you got a bunch of guys out here on the low budget. I'm just saying. See, that's where the problem comes in at. Because if Flores wanted to come here and they thought he could get him for the same amount of money that they could get Leonard, Jim Leonard, know who they'll take? Flores. Oh, there wouldn't be no problem with that. But you can't get Flores for Jim Leonard money. You can't get Raheem Morris at Jim Leonard money. You probably can't get Raheem Morris or Flores at Schottenheimer money. Hate to say that, man. Now, their price tag might be that as a head coach, but they're probably in the $4 or $5 million range because they're hot and they got Super Bowls and everybody know that they could defense coordinate. And you know what you're going to get from them. But not only, Church, let me tell you something. I don't think it's that high, but let me tell you something else. And it's the same thing about Fangio. Let me when they put up that about $5 million with Fangio, let me put a Church statement up here. I don't think Church today at the $10 million range. As head coaches, they probably are. But I don't think they're at the $10 million. They might be around that $4.5 million, $5 million, because I think that's the highest coordinator job. Because the defensive coordinator at KC is getting about $5 million. That's a lot. But you know when the coordinator's getting $5 million a year is when their coaches are getting 10 and 11 and 12 million. They're in the court. Listen here. The coordinators together at the Cowboys ain't getting no $5 to $10 million. $5 million. Together. See, nobody talk about that. So when you start out cheap and you putting the staff together, that's why when your head coach, he sets the tone of how the people get paid under him. Because there's going to be some gaps between the head coach and the offensive defense coordinator. But when your head coach is down on the bottom, and let me give you another fact about if they $5 million coordinators. These guys ain't coming. Fangio did not come in saying, I'm going to be with the guys you. He went and got the best of the best. You see guys, they're interviewing his pass game coordinator. When people start interviewing your assistant coaches for head, what name, that means you went and got the best of the best. And the Eagles paid the best of the best for those guys that's under him. But when we start out cheap, you're going to mess up your whole salary structure of your coaching staff if you bring in a Raheem Morris or a Floyd at the prices they want, and all these other guys you got hired is at ground level. Because the word has always been out on the Cowboys. They don't pay coaches. People ask why Edwards late. Edwards, the linebacker coach. Well, I got some facts about that. Know why he left? Because the Cowboys lowballed him his salary. He went to Tampa Bay and made double the amount of money doing the exact same thing. George Edwards. Yeah. Do y'all know why? Even though he got fired, Joe Witt. Now I ain't talking about how well he did, but you know why Joe Witt actually left? Because Joe Witt got way more money to be a coordinator in Washington than he would have got to being a coordinator in Dallas. That's why Joe Witt left. See, nobody want to talk about that. See, these are the things that the Cowboys try to hide behind under the table. These are the questions y'all should be asking. Why are we paying the guys that's running our team? Why are we not getting the best of the best? Why are we not suiting it out with the best? Why are we going to Shade Tree Mechanics and we are driving a Bentley? See, Cowboys look for coaches just like they look for free agents. They look for guys that have been hurt. That's how we look at players, right? We look for guys that have been hurt, guys that may have not worked out someplace else, and we can bring them in and try to lowball them and not give and try to get the best out of them. Don't we always do that? We look for guys that we got something on them that bring their value down, but we say that we could get them for a cut rate price. That's the same thing we look for coaches because we hire people that I'm not saying they're not good coaches, but may have been fired and maybe looking for a job. We get them on there because we give them a chance at low rate prices, or assistant coaches that just got to the NFL, or guys that just came from being a assistant. All these guys, the running back coach last year, even though we had a good one, the one we wanted from Texas, that used to play here, they couldn't sign him because he was making more money in Texas than a running back coach than they wanted to pay in Dallas. Am I lying? In the richest organization, the most valued organization in sports. These are the questions y'all need to be asking your Dallas Cowboys. Because really, truly, this is about who fits with the coaching staff, but it's really about who fits with the coaching staff and who they can fit with the money that they want to pay. I want to make sure y'all understand that, because the Raheem Morrises, the Flores are going to demand. They're going to demand top dollar. And if your head coach ain't in the middle range, how you going to get them top dollar? Because if you get them top dollar, they already looking at your head coach got an inferior complex already. Then when you bring in assistant coaches, they looking at your head, your coordinator getting $4 million, $5 million. You think they coming here for $50,000, $500,000, $100,000? No, you got to pay them top dollar. And you got to put a very big investment into what you really want. So let's think about that when we think about these interview process. Because all the guys they're interviewing now are guys that never been coordinators before, and you can move them or send them to a coordinator position, and they can get a little bit of raise, but they can't demand so much because they're not the top guys. Make sure you understand that. So it goes back to what we do. We want a dominance. Now I know somebody put in here about dominance. Who put in here about dominance? I know somebody put it early in the chat and said it's hard to be dominant in the salary cap era. Here we go right here. I want to make sure we put it up here because it was a uh, great comment. But I want to explain to him what I was talking about dominance. The thing is, says, do we want to be a are we looking for this to be a dominant defense, or are we just looking for an upgrade? Now, when I say dominant defense, I'm talking about mentality of a defense. And you can sustain dominance or a level of very good defense with the defense because defense is not made with older players. I've said this before. Your defense may sprinkle a couple of veteran guys, but your defense is made of younger players. And you continue to keep drafting defense. Defense is always interchangeable. You're always getting guys in there. Now, we're not talking about Chicago Bear dominance, but we're talking about having a team that can win games defensively. Now let's look at the playoffs. Seattle, dominant defense. All your top defensive teams or teams that play very good defense are competing in the next couple weeks. They're going to be, all the great defensive teams are competing. Now, why? Because there's a myth about offense wins and offense sales. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships and games. There's a difference between those two. Selling tickets has nothing to do about winning games. Just because you lead in crowd or excitement or people talking about the game does not mean you win. What we're seeing in these games lately, if you watch the game, really watch the game, you're seeing people score, but nothing easy. You're seeing that in college and in the pros right now. You don't see nobody going into these games saying, "Oh, we're gonna win it with the offense." Nobody. Nobody said, "Oh, well, our thing is that we're gonna outscore the other team." And if you're going to look for an upgrade, you're gonna have a bad defense. See, an upgrade from us is what, 29, 20th? Be in the same boat. But if you strive to be dominant, you can have a very good team. Yeah. We got to strive to be dominant. Because I don't think we are striving to be dominant on defense. For one, I think we playing around with this coaching search. Well, one, I think that we're trying to be one economy, because you got to be careful now. The Joneses would do some stuff and they would go out there and say, yeah, we got the wide search and all that. They do this with players too, man. We do all the wide search, but we gonna end up shopping at Marshalls where we could try to get a bargain price. We give a guy a raise or a promotion like Leonard, and I'm not saying he can't be a good coordinator, but he ain't gonna cost what Flores gonna cost. We couldn't go high if Fangio was out there. Fangio had won $4.5 million. Hell, you gonna give $4.5 million? Hell, your head coach wouldn't make him a $5 million. See, this is a question we don't ask. There's levels of listen here. Your head coach gets way more than your coordinators. But if your head coach is already down the ladder, how you gonna fit somebody else in there that's gonna be top of the line? And when you hire people, and I've always said this, y'all have to think about this. We know to say that the Joneses want puppets. Okay, fine. But when you pay guys, that automatically comes with a level of authority, a little bit more say so. Now you're paying cheap, no authority. But when you start paying guys on the top level of the coaches, they automatically come with a little bit more say so. So you know how they cut the say so? Pay them like they ain't got nothing. It's levels. Nobody asked the question about, let's look at how you paying these guys. Because again, as Cowboy fans, we feel like we got a Bentley that's going to shade tree mechanics. Why do we accept that? We don't accept that with the players. Why should we accept that with coaches? And it's already out there in the coaching circle is that the Cowboys don't pay coaches. Some people may not even want to come to interview because they know they ain't gonna come with no offer. I think Boss is in the chat here. He had a right. He was frustrated, and I was frustrated when Flores got an interview with the Redskins. I'm sorry, with Washington, because I know Washington gonna pay him. They gonna pay what it is. Joe Witt did not leave because he couldn't stand the Cowboys. He knew getting the offensive defense coordinator at Washington was gonna pay more than defense coordinator in Dallas. Joe, I done found out, I done heard from the grapevine that George Edwards didn't leave because he wanted to leave Dallas, but he wasn't paying nothing. He went to Tampa Bay and got the same amount of money, got more money. Everybody don't love Dallas because they say, oh, I got to be around there. I got to be here. Oh, Dallas is everything. Okay. If they give their star players hell just to get contracts, you can imagine what they're doing with their coaches. So you can go get Raheem Morris is going to ask for good money, and I don't blame him. And I could tell you why. If I was Raheem Morris, and which I like him a lot, but I like him if him and Flores is rap tape, I like him more. But if I was Raheem Morris, I already know that the days of me getting a head coaching job, another head coaching job, if I'm Raheem Morris, I done got 2 shots, almost 3 shots. I probably ain't gonna get another shot. I just be honest. So I'm gonna make my money as defense coordinator because you're gonna pay me for my skill level, and I'm gonna bring my stuff. I'm gonna bring my guys that I know that could do the job that I want them to do. Just like Fangio. Fangio went and got the best defensive line coach, one of the better defensive line coaches out of Tennessee. Go check it out. I think I had mentioned that one time before, long time ago, when we was talking, and I think we was talking together on a live show. Yeah. Yeah, he did. And they had to pay him very well. The reason why they're paying the going there, the interviewing the guy that was the defensive back coach that's a pass game coordinator, because you paid him very well to come to be in Philadelphia. Fangio didn't come in here just with $4.5 million on his own self. He came in here with his salary high enough so he could fit the guys underneath him with the money it's going to take for them to come to play coach in Philadelphia. And not to be saying we're looking for another job tomorrow. And with our money structure, we should have been doing the exact same damn thing. But we don't do that. We don't get guys in here that's the top of the line, because when you pay them, it's automatically gonna come with a little bit more say so. And that's just point blank. Will McClay got a little bit more, just a little bit more say so, because Will McClay get paid very well. Will McClay probably get paid more than some GMs getting paid. And he ain't the general manager. So with money, that give you a little bit of say so. He ain't gonna never have all the say so with Dallas. Okay, I find that. But you're gonna pay me well to be quiet. So when we look at this coaching search, I want you to think about that. It ain't all about fit. It's about fit, how you gonna fit money wise. And I hope they're not trying to get a guy here that we're being pushed upon because somebody told him that we can get this guy cheap. See, and that Leonard want a chance. And I ain't saying that he ain't a good coach, but if he want a chance and he's willing to work with her. See, all this threat here makes in the Joneses' eyes make a guy mean way more valuable. Oh, he's willing to work with us. He's willing to coach with some of the guys that we got already on our staff. He just wanted an opportunity. All that means cheap as hell. And that makes him, even though his resume is good, but that makes his resume look a lot better to the Joneses and to the inside people, because the people in the building, don't be surprised. These are the same guys that work well. They work together, that internal media, to do a lot of negative publicity to keep the Joneses' pay structure intact. They're all working together, man. But do you want to be dominant, or you just want to be an upgrade? Because being dominant is what's going to get you to where you need to be. Nobody like to hear me when I talk about history, because they say, well, coach, you going back and talking about the old school stuff. Well, let me take you a point. If we in this today's society, in this political climate right now, if we learn history, we'll know what's going on right now, and we wouldn't like it. And I'm gonna say it again. History is either gonna teach you some great lessons, or it's gonna hide stuff that are failures or that are problems that's gonna continue to happen over and over and over again. History is either going to teach you great lessons, or it's going to hide problems that's going to continue to happen over and over and over again. That's why people try to hide history from you, because they want the same problems, the same wee woo to happen over and over and over again. So let's look at the history of the Cowboys. The history of the Cowboys have had great offensive stars always, but they didn't win unless they had a dominating, nasty defense. Doomsday. Then it was a doomsday too. 2 of the 5 Super Bowls that the Cowboys got, 3 of the 5 Super Bowls the Cowboys got, they won it on defense. Totally. And I would say 4 of them. The first Super Bowl with Bob Lilly, they actually shut the other team down and won, 16-3? The Super Bowl where they won 56-3, 56-17. We had a record 9 turnovers and almost 3 touchdowns by the defense. In 77, we had a record 7 turnovers that and killed the Denver Broncos. And we had Hall of Fame offensive stars. We have never won a Super Bowl. We have never played in a NFC championship game. We have never played in a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl, played an NFC championship game. I'm talking from the 70s, the 90s, anytime, without having the top 5, top 10 defense. Look it up. That's just not telling you history. That's telling you history for the life of your team. So if y'all think we're going to get there with a 15th or 17th or 18th ranked defense, then if you want to bet against history and say we're going to do it for the first time, go ahead. I'd rather bet against with the odds a little bit so I can make some money. Never have we even played in those games without having a top 10 defense. 2 of the Super Bowls we won in the 90s, we had the number 1 defense. 1 of the Super Bowls in the 70s, 2 of the Super Bowls in the 70s, we were top 3 or number 1, 2. With great offensive stars. So that's your history. But I hear us sometimes saying, well, maybe the defense ain't got to do but get a little bit better. I've been saying on the Boss Cowboy live stream for team, and Boss will tell you this. I've been saying for years, and every year I say the same thing. We're going to go as far as the defense takes us. Because when that time that we run up against the other good teams that got dominant defenses, because the other team's going to have dominant defenses, they're going to slow our offense down. I don't care how many stars you got. Let me give you a case in point. And for anybody who played defense should know this. Let's look at all the sports, the 3 major sports. I would tell you if I got a dominant defense in any of those sports, in baseball, if I got dominant pitching staff, I don't care who you got over there hitting. I'm going to slow all that down. Because great pitching stops good hitting. Great defense on baseball slows the game down. Ain't all these home runs. I can guarantee you if I got it's been already documented. If I got a great great defense in basketball, that really locked down defense in basketball, they slow down in offense. They got a chance to win any game. They slow in the offense down. And some of your greatest defense in the history of football have always been contenders for a championship. They might not won, but they was in contention. I ain't really never seen a defense that was a knockdown, drag out defense, and they say they was out the playoffs in week 5. Never. Some of y'all young Cowboy fans, go back and research the San Diego Chargers and tell me how great their offense was and how many great weapons they had and how many points. Jan Fox was throwing for 300 yards a game back in the 70s in the 80s with 3 Hall of Fame wide receivers. But they couldn't never win that. Why? They couldn't stop a nosebleed. Dan Marino was dominant. Know why they couldn't never win? Because they couldn't stop a nosebleed. But Trent Dilfer got a championship. Mark Rittman got a championship. Let me give you another fun fact. We play in the NFC East. Tell me a time, and I want y'all to look back now. Tell me a time, most times, the team that got the best defense in our division win. The team that has the best division in the NFC East usually win it. So if we think we're going to go out here and say, oh, well, we're going to do it with offense and we just need to get an upgrade on the defense, we sad. We fool ourselves. And this is how our listen. One thing I can tell you about the Joneses, and I learned this from Boss Cowboy. He said that the Joneses watch the algorithms of what people talk about. Now I can tell you what we're gonna do as a fan base. Listen, this is how we always go as our fan base, and I'm telling you, and this is how it's gonna go. Right now, we're talking about the defense coordinator. Everybody's talking about the defense coordinator. When the defensive coordinator finally get hired, there's gonna be a shift of our coaches, of our fan base. And it's gonna be started by the local media because they're gonna want to shift to get us off what's important and to get us on the stuff that's BS, that's not very important to winning the championship, but it's the stuff that's exciting to talk about. They're going to shift into the Pickens thing, and then they're going to shift to about getting more weapons. Then there's going to be a shift that somebody's going to start talking about some damn receiver coming out of college. And then we're going to shift to talk about our offensive linemen. And before it's all over with, we're going to be talking about drafting more offensive players and saying we can get a little bit better with defense, a little bit better. Not get dominant, a little bit better. And then somebody's going to say, with this offense, we just need to be okay with defense. That's what they're going to say now. And let me tell you what okay with defense is. No defense at all. I cut my teeth as a defensive coordinator. I believe in defense way more than I believe in offense. I believe offense can control a game. I believe an offense can score. They can be explosive, but I believe defense creates more opportunities in a game that an offense cannot. I've talked about this in a little live stream. I'm going to talk about it again. Defense can score and stop people. Can an offense stop people? Or people out here say, well, the offense can stop people if they control the ball. But what if they score fast? What if we throw a 90-yard bomb? Is that keeping away from the ball? Defense can stop people and turn around and score. Also, defense can set you up where you only have to drive a short period to score. What can offense do about field position other than punting the ball on a failed attempt? Defense can set up field position on being successful defensively. The only way offense can set up a field position if they fail and they got to punt the football, or they fail and they on fourth down they fail and you get the ball back in your territory because they can't get in the end zone. Defense can score They can stop people. They can set up field position. All those are qualities that offense can't touch. So when I look at football, I look at the team that can do more for me. And defense can do more for me. That's why they say it wins championships. But when we hear the word defense, we're about to, no. But defense is a weapon. Yeah, I got shirts coming out to say that. Defense is a weapon. So when we talk about weapons, defense is a weapon. That's our mantra, should be our mantra for our defense this year. We are the weapon. We have won Super Bowls because of our defense performance. Some of Tom Brady's biggest offensive games, they lost the Super Bowl because the defense ain't played worth a damn. Some of Tom Brady's lowliest offensive performance, one he ain't scored a touchdown against the Rams. Some of the defense, the first couple Super Bowls, he ain't do nothing. Some of his worst statistical games, he won Super Bowls. The great Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl the second time, and he could throw the ball 15 yards down the field. But our novice fan says the ticket sales of excitement with offense sells tickets. That's the biggest problem I got with Cowboy fans. We have gotten so Hollywood that we forget about the essence of football. Tackling and blocking. And if you're going to be a great defensive team, you got to fix one thing. And I've been saying this all year. Just get a little bit more physical, and then we'll see how everything else work out. But you got to be dominant defensively. Now, let me give you my point, what I want from a defense coordinator. And I may not have no names, but let's see if some of these guys fit what I tell you we need for a defense coordinator. One and numero uno over everything else, 10 times, 10 toes down. Nobody is attitude. I want a guy that's going to come in here that says this team is a defensive team first. I want a guy that's going to come in here and say, I don't give a damn if you got Dak, Zach, Joe, Blow, Uno, whatever. Put whatever you want on offense. We're going to win the game on our side. And do not tell me about what Dak threw an interception or who did that. I don't want to hear that. I want a guy that says, if it falls on us, if they don't throw a pick six, your ass don't supposed to get in the end zone. And I want that guy to come in here from day one to put the emphasis as when he talks to the media about it's on us to win. I don't want the guy to come and say, well, we working towards nothing, we got, we working continuity with it. We got, I don't want a guy to even talk about Dak Prescott. I want a guy to come in here defense and they ask him about Dak Prescott, he say, he's a good quarterback. And that's it. Because his focus is, and his guys are, that we must win it on the defensive end. And do you know how much that made Dak even better? When he can be patient, when he ain't got to say we got to force it. Well, listen here. I can punt the ball, and our defense going to shut them down, and I can get the ball and drive 30 yards and get a touchdown. I could just, hey, you know how good that feel is? We could punt the ball and pin them deep and know we're going to get the ball 25 yards ahead of where we punted the ball at originally. You know how that makes an offense feel, how that makes a coordinator feel about I can give the ball up and get it back in a better spot. I don't have to go on fourth down every time because I got a weapon on the defensive end. When defense is a weapon, and then I got a great quarterback, I don't need, listen here, if I got a dominant defense, listen, I can let Pickens walk. I get Florida's going there and the tight ends and CeeDee Lamb and a running game and have enough points to win any game. Ain't these other teams doing that? Ain't they doing that right now? People talk about the Rams, but Rams got a old veteran receiver and a killer. But we understand number 17 is on the downside. Puka, he on the top side. But they got ordinary tight ends, good running back, and their defense is coming up. The defense is getting better. May not be dominant, but getting better to keep them in the games. Seattle, that's what they're doing. Give me a dominant defense, and I can make a guy look good. And then if I got a good quarterback, like I got a great quarterback now, I can make him look Hall of Famish. Because little did we know, Joe Montana had one of the best defenses in the NFL. See, Ronnie Lott and all them guys, they were dominant. But at first, guy, the first thing in quality in defense coordinator, I need a guy that's gonna have that mentality. I need a guy that's gonna walk in. If that's Flores, that's Leonard. I need a guy to walk into that first interview and say, "Hey, if we fail, it's on me. It's on us. I don't care what the offense do. If we fail, we let them score more points than we did." I want a guy that feels that goes out there every day and his defense challenge our own offense like they're trying to kill them every day because they don't want to lose no battles, and that permeates from the head, from the defense coordinator, all the way through his coaches in a manner that says we don't have to have stars, but we got to have guys that are going to play together and play hard. That's the first thing. So if I need that mentality, it's the first thing from the defense coordinator. One, that answers the question I've said about I don't want just an upgrade. I want to be dominant. What the second thing of quality the defense coordinator got to have? He got to be able to see through bullshit. He got to be able to see through BS. He got to find out the guys that we got signed on this roster, who are the imposters and who are the real deal. That's just what your big defensive tackle talked about, Quentin Williams. Quentin Williams said we need dogs, and he wasn't talking about dogs, crazy dogs, is that. He kept saying that we need guys that eat and sleep football. that's going to earlier in the season, he's talking about guys that's going to sacrifice for themselves to make the greater good of the team. Clowney sacrificed himself. Clowney go out there, but he sacrificed. That's what the type of guys we need. We need guys that do the right thing on and off the field, but dogs about eating and sleeping football. That's dedicated to saying, it's on me. I need a bunch of guys that he can see that the guys that don't fall in that line get rid of their ass. And guess what, people? It may be some people that we like. I know some people gonna say, well, coach, he don't have that authority. The Joneses got that authority. And y'all right. That's why you got to pay him. Because like I said, if he's paid well, it's going to come with a little bit of authority. But he's got to be able to find the imposters. We had some imposters on this team this past year. And I hate to call out names, but I'm going to call out some. Sam Williams started coming on in the end, but imposter. Malik Hooker, loved the guy, but he was an imposter. He wasn't aggressive no more. He wasn't that guy that's gonna go out there and knock people head off no more and gonna make plays. He was just trying to stay in Dallas. I need guys that this guy's gonna come in here, younger folk. We couldn't Elam. How we let Elam play for 7-8 weeks and went tackling my grandma. That ruined the whole team right there. See, when you don't recognize the imposters early enough, it kills the whole morale of the whole team. If you're going to be on that defense, you must carry the mentality that I want to have to play. You got to have the mentality that I want for you to go out there and everything has to be full speed and physical. If I allow somebody to go out there that's starting, that we can see on film week in and week out, that won't even attempt to make tackles, and you allow him to play for 5 or 6 weeks, you have ruined the rest of the mentality of the whole team. And you can't get it back. Eagleflus killed his credibility. See, you can't go in and tell everybody that we want you to be physical and tell everybody, say, well, our team, based off how our cornerbacks tackle, is how we judge our tackle. And you allow Elam and Diggs to tackle like they tackle in the first part of the season. Now, Diggs wasn't as worse as Elam, but Diggs wasn't great either. So then you wonder why Bland come out there and not tackling no more. Because you allowed it with other guys for a whole 5 or 6 weeks. And I guarantee you that, and you didn't rally around the football, none. I want a guy that says we're going to play on the details of being a physical defense. One thing I don't care about, tell me what a scheme, tell me what other scheme, but one thing I can tell you this team that everybody's scout report probably said about this team is they don't give a damn about the scheme. Because let me tell you something. How many weeks you think you're going to fool people? But one thing you can't get around, the dominance that you play with speed and physicality and the aggressiveness that you play with, that goes in and week out. If you feel like you're going to come out and play defense and trick people and think that that's going to last for 17 weeks, that might last a quarter. Sometimes the trickery lasts one play. And if nobody can tell me they watch film as much as they watch film, and they can say that one of the characteristics of our defense was physicality. Look at how we tackle. Look how when we tackle guys, they were never going backwards. Look how many times after contact they got 2 or 3 more yards. Look how we had guys rally around the ball and stop and had been standing there and waiting on the guy to come to them. Look how we got off of blocks. Look how many times we seen our guys get dominated. Defensive line, linebackers, and sometimes when they got blocked. Physicality was not our forte. So the third quality, the first quality is a guy that's going to say, we are the reason we going to win. I want that type of mentality. The second, I want the second mentality, the second characteristic is a guy that's going to be able to go through here and find the imposters. And the third is that defense has to knock heads off. And if it ain't that, you cannot play here. I don't care what your paycheck is, what your reputation is, what you know intercepted, what you have done in the past. From day one, it got to be that type of mentality. Now I know Schottenheimer talking about he wants somebody to teach. You could teach him all you want. But the first preservation of a defense is you got to be fast and physical. Fourth thing, I want a defensive guy to come in here and is going first thing he's going to say is we got to increase the speed on this football team. I want some flyers. And if you can't run, you're going to find it hard to be on this team, on my defense. We gave up more big plays this year than anywhere because, one, we didn't have the mentality that we were going to be locked in, that we weren't giving up nothing. And I always told you, 3 reasons why you give up big plays. It's 3 reasons why you give up big plays. 1, alignment or assignment. Did we line up a lot? Sometimes when we look at film, I don't even know what our secondary would line up in. Alignment, and then sometimes we didn't complete our assignment. We look confused. So they give up big plays when it's like that, alignment or assignment. The second reason why, physicality. We had broken tackles and not rallying to the ball, letting guys run in the secondary before we could gather around them. They get 5 to 10 yards, and then we do converge on. We let them build confidence, and now they run anytime they want. Physicality. That's why you give up big plays. And the third thing is, we just don't have the athletes. You can have the right alignment, the right assignment. You can do all the stuff, but they just out athlete you. And we had slow safeties, very slow, no speed on corner. Our secondary was slow. And then when you take slow and not being aggressive to the ball, that's a recipe to be destruction. So y'all look and say, well, Coach, you ain't asking for much from a defense coordinator. No, because I know one thing. I need a guy that's going to take the reins that says, this is the reason we going to win or lose. I want a guy that's going to come in here to make this defense says it's the number one thing in town. And you got to have that mentality and not the mentality of, well, we just going to get better. Oh, we just got to do a good enough because our offense is so great. And I always tell you, great defense shut down good offense. In all the sports. And I think our offense is going to be good enough to be able to get something there, but it's not going to be able to just put the pressure on it for it to win every drive. Defense got to dominate. Check out history, man. Never have we played an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl, win or lose, with our top 10 defense. Never. That's in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Never. I know some people say, well, things have changed. Well, they changed from the 70s to the 90s. But the same thing applied. And I think we could do that. The two times we have great defenses, one of our better defenses, when we drafted a lot of defensive guys. Jimmy Johnson drafted a lot of defensive guys the year right before they went to the Super Bowl. After they got beat at Green Bay and we got embarrassed, our defense got embarrassed, and Jimmy said, we'll not get embarrassed like that again. And they brought in every defensive back they could find during the offseason. That's right. Until they found some guys that was going to hit people, cover people, and stop big plays. And he fixed that. They didn't tinker with the offense. They said, the offense, do what you're going to do. We're going to get this defense to be a number one defense. And when Jimmy got that defense to be a number one defense, we started winning Super Bowls. Charles Head just added a cherry on top of the mentality you need, the championship mentality. Charles Head had his better seasons when he was at San Francisco. He was not as dominant in Dallas as he was in his early years in San Francisco. So he didn't come in here to give a dominant performance. He came in here to give a very good performance, but his mentality of saying we must win it with the defense was his mentality. And that permeated through our defense to the point that they said, forget the offense. I remember one thing, and I'm going to say this guy will need to get off. I remember if you go back and look at the little tape thing where they have about when they do the little thing for every Super Bowl, when they talk about how they went and how the Super Bowl and the coaches talking, they have players talk. The first Super Bowl, everybody thought that Jimmy Johnson was going to have the offense introduced because we had the triplets, and everybody knew had a great offensive line, great triplets, and Jay Novacek, when he was number 4 guy. Everybody moves. Everybody knew the offensive guys. And when you have a great defense, you don't need a whole lot. You don't need a whole lot of backup. You can get just a regular offensive guys to be good. And when I remember, I always told you, offense, you could veteran players. Defense, you always change them with younger players. That's how you rank defense. But I remember when they were talking about that, and everybody thought he was going to introduce the offense with the triplets. But he said, we're going to introduce the defense because Jimmy said in the locker room before the game is, we're going to win this game on defense. Now imagine him saying that in front of, I think Emmett was the league MVP. Troy Aikman, top quarterback. Michael Irvin was a top wide receiver. But you tell them, with the great wall sitting there off the line, you tell them that, no, we're going to win this on defense. And that's who I'm introducing. Cowboy Nation, until we take this seriously, until we make this organization take this seriously, they can't tell you about a salary cap now. Until they take it seriously and interview the right kind of candidates, and not because of what they feel of a salary structure, because that got a lot to do with it. Until they take this thing seriously, until we make them hold accountable of how they run this entire organization and who they have running this organization, and that we get the best of the best. Don't you make your Uber driver? Don't you say, "Hey man, Uber"? When you order a luxury mobile, you rate them based off how well they got the car looking. You don't go in there and they got some bad floor mats in there or the door hanging off, and you paid all this big price for the Uber ride. You'll be mad. Well, just don't let this Cowboy organization cheapskate us with coaching salaries. Because I've always said this: things that they don't talk about is the most important thing. They don't never talk about how much they paying for coaches, but Jerry quick to talk about how much he paying players. He quick to talk about that. But let's look for this team to be dominant on defense. We got a very good start of everybody being so enthusiastic about the defense. Everybody's enthusiastic now about the defense. Can we keep that same energy all the way through the training camp and not neglect the offense? Because every year we be on one side of the ball the whole time and we neglect the other side, and the other side turn out to be a dud. It's a team thing. But the defense can make your offense even look better. Your offense can't make your defense look better. That's why defense is so important. Defense can steal the ball and get turnovers inside the red zone, and your offense will put the ball in the end zone. They can make the offense look like they scoring 100,000 points. There's nothing your offense can do to make your defense look better, but maybe try to control time possession. But if they score fast, the defense is gonna be right back out there. There's nothing your offense can do to help your defense, but time possession. But your defense can help your offense. Cowboy Nation, let's get focused and let's have one to have a dominant defense. We got enough offense as it is. And I want to sign Pickens. I'm gonna do a show about the Pickens thing because I know they ain't gonna sign him right now. But as I said earlier, I think on Boston Post, I said, listen, and anything else, if you go out to get him a solid, real, serious offer and say this is where you fit into our plan, not no low balling offer, but man, ain't gotta be no top dollar, ain't gotta be the roof either. But it's gotta be a solid offer. Maybe give a little bit more guarantee money. A solid offer, put it on the table. He turns it down, say go out there and find a better offer. I can guarantee if you make a solid offer, it's gonna be hard to find. If he find a little bit better offer, he may say, I still want to be in Dallas. But if you wait and let this build up drama, then you just trying to play a game. Recap. I want a defensive coordinator to come in here that's gonna be saying, this is my team. This is what's gonna win it. We are gonna be the ones. I want him from God doggone day one that you can feel that he is so intense about making sure that this defense win games. Number two, I want a guy that's gonna be able to come in here and be able to shift to the BS and find who are the imposters and get rid of the imposters. Number three, I want a guy that's gonna have principles of being physical and fast. And if that's not the principle, forget about scheme. The first principle's gotta be the thing to go first. Gotta be there first. And number four, I want a guy that's gonna come in here and say, hey, we need to increase the speed and the physicality on this defense, but it's really the speed. And I guarantee you, people, those same coverages y'all talk about this last year, talking about how soft they were, they'll look a whole lot tougher if you play it right and you play it with aggression. You ain't gonna trick people too much in defense. One thing I've learned about defense, you ain't gonna trick too much people in defense. Because offense can get you all over the place, but your base defense should be able to cover everything. And if you play it right with a great IQ, you can play it tough. Man, I want to tell y'all thank you. I want to make sure that y'all like, comment, and share. I had a lot of people in the chat, man. A lot of people putting a lot of stuff in the chat box. Um, I also want to say, man, there's guys like Boss Cowboy Sports. They're doing some great work. Boss, Henny, Lou Takes, um, all those guys. Um, my man Landlord, Amp Sports. All these guys, Tyrone Church, all these guys are putting some great stuff out here, talking about these coaches, about who's going to be. They're doing some very good research. It's a very a big decision, but it has to have the right mentality. I'm say it again. I think if this offense with this offense, another year with this offense together, I think this offense would be even more potent. But we got to win this with defense. My daughter, my honey just put in my cash app down there, Miss Jen. She put in the cash app down there. That's what we gonna be making these t-shirts. It's gonna be a t-shirt, and I hope she wrote this down. But defense is a weapon. Defense is a weapon. I know people be talking about weapons, but defense is a weapon. So we want you to go out here and like, comment, subscribe. I want to see if we can help Coach Marv do one other thing. Coach Marv is about 170 some subscribers off of getting to the big total of 1,000. Um, we can get to 1,000. We can make some more advances and moving forward, man. We moving on Twitter, but we want if you on Twitter and you watching this on Twitter, go over to Coach Marv Real Talk on my YouTube channel and subscribe. We trying to get to that 1,000. We want to try to get that 1,000 well into this off season because we're going to do a live stream with some of these playoff games that's coming up this weekend, and as well as we're going to start doing some more talks and more different types of shows. But as I was saying before, please go out and support Boss Cowboy and all these other people that are really doing some great work with these breakdowns and this analytical stuff. But understand, man, they want to win, and we just got to stay on top of the things. But I want y'all to investigate your Cowboys nation about who they got running this team and what they're paying for the team to pay us, people to run this team. I'm not saying because the guys get a low pay that they not good coaches, but I always feel that if you felt that you was a great coach, you wouldn't go take a job for less money. You want to get paid when everybody else get paid. And I guess they're trying to get the guys to earn it. But sometimes if you want these guys to have a little bit more say so, I guarantee you pay them accordingly. That's gonna come with a little bit more say so automatically. But as I said, man, thank y'all for saying like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for being in here. Thank you for all my heavy hitters that came into the chat. My guys, man, because they know that I'll be in their chats and chopping it up. I thank them for coming into my chat and chopping it up, man, and talking to each other and go out there and go over to the boss guy. He probably on live now with his show, and I'm probably gonna go over there and check in on his stuff as well. But again, until next time, and remember, I always say this: in these days and time, people, things are very, very tough. Some stuff has happened on my job in the last week. That's just a sign of what's going on in this world in this country. But always remember, and I will always say this and say this with firm belief and all in my heart: that nothing, no one, or nothing can stop God's will. No one or nothing can stop God's will. And the math of hope will always win. The math of hope will always win. And my last saying: do you rather be wrong than different? Do you rather be wrong or different? Think about those sayings, man, as you walk through life and understand that you got someone's holding you down. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all you do for me. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.